Okay, now we want to talk a little bit about rethinking assessment, because our typical quiz and test has some issues in the blended and remote learning environment. And I don't want to say that there aren't tools out there that we can't use. There are some. We don't own most of them. We have one tool that we can possibly use with freshmen and sophomores only, but we haven't been able to test it, so I'm reluctant to talk about that. So if we can't ensure that our assessments have integrity and that it truly reflects the students' learning and understanding, then we probably want to take some time to rethink assessment. So here's some things we can think about. One of the things is projects. And here's the reason that I like projects or products, where students create something that demands that they use the information that they learn through their mastery. So obviously they have to use their learned information to complete the product or the project. And it makes it wide open and a wide variety of things, and also can incorporate some choice for students, which is an engagement builder. Either choice of like what kind of specific topic, if like you're a health and fitness teacher and you talk about nutrition, and then you want them to do a project of some point, doing a better job with their nutrition, and they create some kind of a way of tracker, or have a goal, and you provide a tracker, and they try to see how their choices are going. Those are generally longer term, which is good. I mean, you have to give them some time to work on it, which in both a blended and remote environment means that the students have time to work on that when they're not in front of you, which is either never or not as often as they are in a normal school day. And then the last thing is that the work is asynchronous, which is great it works really well in the blended and the remote environment. So here's some examples. I think in the humanities or in health and fitness, some of those other types of academic content areas, it's really easy to think about just giving students something to, they have to demonstrate something with your content using what they need to know. And you can give them a choice of what tools to use to express the content. And probably our social studies and our Rivers and Revolution teachers have the greatest experience with accepting multiple different projects for, to show that what you know. One thing I saw that I think is really powerful is creating a rubric where there's certain things that the product has to address and has to be in that product in some way. As that way you have one rubric for multiple things, and then you can assess based on basically the same thing for different types of, like, this one did a video, this one wrote a 5-paragraph essay, all those things that you want to do. So that's an example. This is for teachers, not for students, but how you could do that. I find the math and mathy science areas probably the most difficult to think about this. But if you remember, we have our crime and correlation project that we all looked at. And if you want to go back and familiarize, you can use the slide deck to look here, and you'll see what they have an entire thing just on their proposal, and how they'll look through the statistics that were given, and how they'll do guided notes on that, and this is what they're going to do, and they're going to perform these functions on these various statistical functions on the data, and come up with things that you could recommend to the DC Council. This one is a very elaborate one, which is really good, and it is actually teaching students functions and function notation, which is probably high 7th, 8th, middle 8th, maybe lower 9th grade math. But using these notations and functions, then students figure out what type of equipment they need and how they would utilize it at what angles in order to actually scale El Capitan and Yosemite. So check that one out. That one is really good. So just use some ideas of some creative things that you could do with your content to have students show you what they know.